I want to address a comment that I got in my review for Extreme Rules from Sunday night. Julian Perez says, "It feels amazing that I stopped watching WWE. AEW is way ahead of its time." And I replied back to him and I said, AEW is not ahead of its time. WWE is behind the times. I wanted to make a video about this because AEW is gaining tons of momentum right now, and a lot of people who were watching WWE are now discovering AEW because of the acquisition of Bryan Danielson and CM Punk, along with Adam Cole, and who knows who else is coming down the pipeline. And I want to discuss this idea. First of all, like I said in the reply, I know what Julian's trying to say. And that's why I kind of modified his comment a bit. It's not that AEW is ahead of its time, because it's really not. AEW is doing a lot of the things that wrestling really kind of needs right now. A lot of the mistakes that WWE has been making for the past 20 years, AEW is trying to rectify these mistakes and not make them. For example, from what we understand, based on talent that I've spoken to, the AEW dressing room is a lot more chill. It feels like guys are coming to work. It's not like how it was in the 90s with drugs and things like that, or in the 80s. In AEW's dressing room, everybody's pretty much relaxed. They all kind of have more creative control. There's not really any like scripted promos. Tony Khan is in charge, but he gives the talent a lot of opportunities to kind of give him feedback, and he more or less puts together the stuff while they kind of come up with their own promos and things like that. And of course their own matches. He's not a wrestler. But WWE's dressing room is different. In WWE's dressing room, because of the political BS that's been going on for decades now, with people like Kevin Dunn and Vince McMahon, people in that dressing room, a lot of them are scared to lose their jobs. They're very lots of paranoia, lots of cautiousness, trust issues, politics. The same things that have plagued wrestling for decades, they go on in AEW, in WWE. Whereas AEW, at least for the time being, has very little behind-the-scenes drama. Now, we did hear stories about Cody Rhodes, and maybe he doesn't get along with the other EVPs and kind of does his own thing, but Tony Khan's been able to kind of steer that ship to where the morale, for the most part, in the AEW dressing room is great. And that matters because the wrestlers are going to appreciate that a lot more. We, as fans, don't really experience that, but they do. But what I wanted to talk about more specifically was when he talks about with WWE kind of being behind the times, what I said, they're very much behind the times. To me, the only product that I feel WWE was consistently amazing at was NXT for a very, very long time. From 2014-15 through to about 2020, NXT was the best WWE product in the whole company. You know, you had some great moments throughout those years where Raw was looking good and SmackDown was doing well for a while there, but NXT had the best matches, some of the best talent, and really featured a lot of the smaller guys that would never even get pushed on the main roster. Guys like Johnny Gargano and Ricochet were legitimate drawing stars in NXT, and in the main roster are jabronis or they're too small. Dude, Ricochet, who at one time was considered maybe the best wrestler in the world years ago, is on WWE Main Event Wrestling Karrion Kross. You've got Ricochet versus Karrion Kross, which could headline a takeover in any building in the country, and you're booking them on the main event, dog. Like, and the thing what I'm trying to talk about is how NXT's been gutted now, because NXT's now become a full-blown developmental league now, whereas Triple H kind of turned it into this semi-developmental league, semi-like indie competition company where you had some of the best talent from the indies in NXT before they went to the main roster. Guys who had a lot of hype behind them. Andrade, Aleister Black, I mentioned Ricochet, Tommaso Ciampa. For a while, Samoa Joe was there. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn were there. Neville, a.k.a. Pac, was there. FTR was there. And these guys were able to work these athletic, longer matches work rate matches on NXT that they could never work in WWE because they never got enough time, or they would usually get squashed by bigger guys. The fact that it's 2021 and WWE is going back to featuring big guys who can headline WrestleMania and not focusing on different size guys, athleticism. Dude, the fact that WWE let Adam Cole go, Adam Cole could have been a top heel on any brand at any point. And they let him go to AEW, bro. Like, it's wild, bro. It's mind-blowing. It's almost insulting to the wrestling fan. And WWE doing these wacky, like, cartoonish bullshit, like with the Demon, and, you know, Roman Reigns is fine, but, like, their constant rematches, they don't develop any talent, they don't get any baby faces over. They bring Goldberg back. You're giving Goldberg a SummerSlam payday, but you don't want to fight for Adam Cole. It's so frustrating as a wrestling fan that WWE is so behind the times. And it's not that AEW is doing something that's that extraordinary. They're just trying to put on good shows and put on good matches and have a wrestling heavy show. That's it. You got good promos from guys like Jericho and MJF and even Adam Cole himself. You've got a lot of focus on the in-ring wrestling. And that's different from WWE with the nonsense with Alexa Bliss and her stuffed animals. Like, it's such a clown show. And WWE's been this way for a while. So it's not that AEW is doing something that's so revolutionary like what ECW did in the mid-90s. That's not what's going on here, y'all. AEW is just doing what NXT was doing. That's pretty much what they're doing, guys. That's it. It's like NXT. Tony Khan and Triple H probably have very similar philosophies when it comes to, you know, their audiences. And WWE is still stuck on this, like, we got to find football players and make them wrestlers. And some of them can be great wrestlers. I'm not saying they can't, but you've got talented guys on your roster, and you let them go. You let Andrade go, Aleister Black, Adam Cole. You're letting these guys go when you can feature them. You can have them. They don't have to be WrestleMania main eventers, but they can be in the undercard and the mid-card. They can provide, you know, great matches and fill out your card. You're letting them go for Alexa Bliss, dude. I mean, I like Alexa Bliss, but you know what I mean, like that character, and bringing back Goldberg again. It's just like, are you kidding me? It's literally becoming WCW. And now you've got AEW, which once again has tremendous momentum, actually is, you know, nipping at WWE's heels. And WWE, instead of thinking, okay, we have to match them as best we can, we're going to go backwards. Why? Because NXT lost? That's not enough of a reason for them not to keep trying. Like, it's just amazing to me, you know, and there's a lot of folks who are jumping over. WWE is not losing money. That's not happening. They're making money hand over fist. But with the terrible finishes you got on the show last night, and with the almost desperate booking, having Big E cash in, having Big E and Bobby Lashley on Raw, like, it's so, it reeks of desperation. When all you have to do is, instead of trying to hotshot shit, just take your time and start putting together shows that go from week to week to week to have a consistent storyline. They have not been able to do that in years. The shows feel very, very disjointed. They don't write the shows ahead of time. They book matches ahead of time that fill out the angles, which is fine, but they don't really have week to week, you know, serialized storytelling. They don't have that. And even when they do, it feels very forced. And AEW has done a better job of that. Shooting little angles for their TV and for their pay-per-views. Having talent, you know, have more control. WWE feels like a prison for some of these guys. And I think it's about time now in 2021 that things change. I think the culture of wrestling needs to change. WWE coming in there and taking away wrestlers' YouTube and Twitch accounts, like, are you nuts? Now you got Andrew Yang, who's preparing a class action lawsuit against WWE over this. AEW doesn't care if you have a Twitch channel or a YouTube or a whatever, TikTok. They don't give a shit. Like, what is this, like, control BS? And WWE is still the biggest company, number one. AEW is not going to take that spot for a very, very long time. But when it comes to the morale of the wrestlers and the fans, AEW Dynamite feels like a party. And WWE feels like, stale, old, mid 2000s WWE bullshit. Something needs to change. We need new talent. We need talent to be protected and some fresh ideas because it's like the same thing over and over again. God bless Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley and those guys. They have great talent. But man, it's so obvious to me that there's problems here. So I wanted to address that and talk about what's really going on. AEW is not doing anything that's revolutionary. AEW is basically NXT with a few other wrestlers. It's just, it's much easier to watch. Also, Raw being 3 hours, yes, I know that they're getting tons of money from USA, but that show has been very hard to watch since it's been 3 hours, and that's about almost 10 years ago. So it's like, man, it's unfortunate, but hopefully, I don't know if it's going to happen. Hopefully they'll improve. I just don't see that being the case for some time.